tell you a quiet, unfolding story, a long, gentle imagining built from a mystery of the old city, softened for sleep. Close your eyes if you wish, and breathe slowly as I walk you through a misty November evening, a warm room, and the patient work of two steady minds. We begin in a lamplit boudoir where a woman named Alice, Lady Dyke, draws aside her curtains to peer into an opaque London fog. The world outside is muffled and distant. Inside the room there is gleam of electric light, the soft movement of a fire, the careful order of carpets and polished brass. Alice resolves to go out into that cold evening, determined, purposeful. She smooths a glove, checks an address, speaks to a servant. Her voice is calm. There is no panic in it, only that firm, private business of a woman who has chosen a course to follow. She takes a hansom past the dim outlines of Park Lane and Hyde Park Corner. The cab rattles and skids, and some small impatience stirs in her. At Victoria, she steps out beneath a gas lamp, buttoning her glove. The station is busy and blurred with steam and fog. In the crowd, she meets Mr. Claude Bruce, a man of law and quick mind, who buys her a ticket and walks with her on to the platform. They exchange a few polite words of trains and theater, of the minor irritations life offers, and then they part. Alice takes a Richmond train. Mr. Bruce returns to his business and sleeps, thinking of courtrooms and curious puzzles, unaware that this short parting becomes the last day he sees her alive. The next morning her husband, Sir Charles Dyke, a gentleman of comfortable rank and kindly manners, expects a return. She does not come back. He wires, he waits. A telegram answers him with impatience. Alice is wanted, the reply writes, and later a short note, want to see you at once. Signed simply Dick. A sale at Tattersall's. A man who notices the year stamped on a ticket. A small human pulse of confusion and worry, undramatic but very real. The days pass. Friends try to bring sense to hope and hope to sense. They ask questions. They look into the ordinary registers of travel and trains and addresses. Then the police are called in. Gentle steps of investigators begin to roam about the mansions and the flats of Sloane Square. The inquiry first looks in the places most obvious: family, friends, the sister at Richmond. It looks at small things, tickets, receipts, a name on a list. It finds an oddity: a ticket given up at Sloane Square, where a woman passes into the evening air. A vendor points across the way and says, Raleigh Mansions. The clue, simple as a thread, narrows the field. Inspector White of Scotland Yard is cautious, patient, and at first baffled. He patrols the flats in the old block Raleigh Mansions, asking questions, knocking on doors. People in apartments frown at a detective's inquisitiveness. They treasure privacy, and the detective's visits offend them. Yet the building holds its secrets in a brim of ordinary life: laundresses, dressers, and small talk. A week of persistent inquiry brings no clear answer, then a monstrous discovery. The Thames gives up a body near Putney, a woman badly damaged by long immersion and blunt violence. There is a small iron spike found in her skull. There are clothes of a better class than the coat and skirt she wears on the surface. Among the clothing are pieces that point, in soft and sorrowful ways, to another home in town. A pair of strong walking boots bear a maker's stamp, and the list of customers includes a woman's name that matches one connected to the missing Alice. A maid, hysterical, says the garments are not her mistress's, yet some marks and threads cannot be ignored. Mr. Bruce, a careful, clever man, reads those traces differently. The chemical hints of hair dye, the odd absence of laundry marks. He begins, quietly, to imagine hypotheses. Time drifts by. The city is full of whispers. People say Lady Dyke was last seen at Victoria. People shout that she has gone to the coast. People make guesses. The police keep an open mind. Bruce stops and looks longer. He already suspects a set of small facts. A woman left a carriage at a station. Late one foggy night, a ticket was given up at Sloane Square. Someone asked where Raleigh mansions were. Someone paid a news vendor a coin. Each small object is an ember of light to a seasoned mind. He follows another ember, a servant, Jane Harding, who disappears from her mistress's house in a hurry and reappears again in a glitter of stage makeup, singing at a music hall. From the frightened and then defiant girl, he learns how small minds can be frightened into strange choices. Jane becomes a living interlude between two very different worlds: servants, rooms and footlights, privacy and advertisement. She leaves abruptly, which gives rise to more questions. Why run away? Why hide? What did she know? She is a thread to follow. Further inquiry opens yet another door. A tenant in Raleigh Mansions, Mrs. Gwendoline Hilmer, lives quietly and stylishly, but on the fringe of society. She has a brother, an impulsive young man who has led a wild life abroad and taken a name not his own, Sidney H. Corbett. He is a mystery of another sort, an American by reputation, an Englishman by birth, a gambler at Monte Carlo who later catches a sudden run of luck, gentlemen of the law of funds and of closed clubs watch this string of affairs. Mr. Bruce, who is both curious and kindly, decides to visit Mrs. Hilmer. He intends a quiet interview, but finds company and carriage that lead to an evening at the theater. The city murmurs. The Jollity Theater smells of grease paint and applause. It is a place where the ordinary and the magical meet. They eat, they watch a chorus line. And there, in the half-light, Mr. Bruce sees Jane Harding dancing among the chorus, a small, flaring star of a different sky. He watches her and understands more of the human angles. She is not the hysteric who cried at a coroner's table, but a proud, defiant woman who slips into the world of theater to remake herself. Outside the theater, there are characters who belong to this kind of life: managers, bit players, stage hands, a clubman named Billy Sadler who knows every performer in town. Bruce makes a friendly contact there. He will need Broadway knowledge, the small maps of people who move in and out of life, who borrow coats and drop names. The next day, he follows other leads into the city itself, to the offices of slick promoters who underwrite dubious mines and sell dreams of gold. Names rise and fall in their lists: Dodge and Co., the Springbok Mine, and Bruce sees how money and false confidence play their part in the great human engine. A wild game at Monte Carlo has been won and lost. Mensmore, a young man with a clean face and a gambler's streak, makes and loses fortunes in a night and threatens to end his life over regret. He is rescued by Bruce's quickness and kindness, taken from the terrace with a revolver tucked away, steadied by good counsel, turned toward hope again. That is what the distant sea offers. It steadies losses. It heals the sharpness of defeat. In that southern light, the whole matter of Corbett, Mensmore, and Mrs. Hilmer moves forward. Corbett, a man with a Western outlook and straightforward ways, arrives in Monte Carlo on letters of business. He is an outsider, and yet he cares about the tragic affairs in London. When Mensmore's luck shifts and later returns unexpectedly, remember that small mercies and impulses are the roots from which the larger decisions grow. So Bruce returns to London, his mind full of puzzle pieces: a broken iron dog on a fender, an odd letter bearing American postmarks and Wyoming ink, a maid's handwriting signed in the style of the missing lady. He knows that among all the human items, the shape of handwriting has an odd power. One person's loop and curl can become a signature of intent. When he finds a photograph at a theater signed Marie Lemarchant, and in a hand almost identical to Lady Dyke's, he recognizes a new pattern. He learns that Jane Harding, who once served a mistress, has taught herself to write in a certain manner, copying a hand she saw often, practicing until she can shape letters to look like the lady's own. He sees then the human reason that might cause a strange forgery. People imitate what they have lived with. Servants learn the gestures of their employers, the way that young birds copy the call of their mothers. Behind these small but telling facts sits a larger and heavier feeling: that sometimes people try to manage fate by secret means. Sir Charles Dyke, proud, well-placed, perhaps distant in feeling from his wife, is a gentle, private man in public. He is shocked when, in a fog of incomprehension, he discovers that his wife is missing and may be dead. When small proofs, an undergarment's thread, a stamp on a pair of boots, appear to bear a likeness that connects the drowned woman with the world he knows, he is lacerated by a new tenderness. A man who once took a cautious view of love now grows to feel exposed and aware. So the inquiries widen and tighten. Tickets, letters, loftier names, a rented flat known by an assumed title. There will be a moment of painful, sharp revelation. A gentleman's flat, number 12 Raleigh Mansions, holds the telltale evidence. A fireplace bracket with a chipped iron arm, a wax impression later matched to the small, sharp spike found in the victim's skull. That small, ugly piece of iron is a terrible clue. It strikes a conclusion in some minds. If that piece fits the wound, then the wound may have been inflicted there, in that room. The police and Mr. White feel that they are near their answer. Mr. Bruce, though, is more measured. He knows that a body of evidence may trick and mislead. He knows, too, how often coincidence can mimic design. People can fit facts to wrong conclusions and call them proof. He keeps quiet and watches. At the same time, emotional patterns, not just physical proofs, begin to weigh. A woman's willingness to shield a man she loves, a brother's readiness to protect his sister, a maid who takes money and flees, a man who changes names. These are the quiet human leverages. They have been the cause of much complexity in the past and will cause more to come. In the end, the mind has a claim equal to the facts. Mr. Bruce's labor is to balance both. He moves between the detective's blunt insistence and the hush of a friend's sympathy. The story's deep turn is both simple and tragic. Late one foggy night, Alice confronts the man she thinks has betrayed her, and events, in an instant and in a gust of human frailty, become dreadful. Her head strikes against a small iron ornament with violent consequence. She falls. Stillness falls with her. The man, Sir Charles, gentle and now terrified, goes on in terror and confusion. He places the body upon the seat of a cab, seeks to avoid scandal, and in perhaps a wild and wrong-headed attempt to ease the circulation of sorrow, he conveys her to a remote spot by the river and leaves her beyond a pipe, believing that the river will sweep her away without identification. In the cold arithmetic of his fear, he believes it will be a private solution. The result is anything but private. The body is found, mutilated by time in the water, the cause of death masked with many frightening signatures. People do their best to identify it. The steps are fraught with the groping and anxiety of those who face a loss they cannot name. Then, a young man named Bruce, a touching friend to many and a stubborn solver of riddles, trusts the clues enough to say he believes the drowned woman might be Alice. Not everyone agrees, because the water, the coil of time, has made the corpse different. But several pieces, the linen, the boots, the traces, pull like magnets toward one interpretation. Sir Charles's final movement is a sorrowful, self-chosen one. The unbearable dawn of shame and guilt drives him to take his life. He leaves a careful, honest account, a note that explains the events as he saw them, the whole terrible sequence of decisions that led him from hope, his hope that some gentle action might preserve decency, to despair. He asks his friend, Mr. Bruce, to act as trustee of the truth. He asks that his memory be not treated as a sensational story. His account is thorough and remorseful, and asks only understanding. Mr. Bruce does what he can. He arranges discreetly with the authorities. He honors the dead. He helps to provide for the living. He brings the families together. He sees that the boy heir receives proper guardianship, and that the servants and the loyal find safe provision. He is a steady, human hand in a messy, sorrowful world. Now breathe in and out slowly. Hear the faint rustle of the page as it turns in that old book of mysteries. Think of the soft fog thinning in Hyde Park, of cabmen with careful faces, of a detective who spends his life reading ordinary cues and never stops hoping for truth. Think of the warm light in Sir Charles's library, where a friend reads the last letter written by a man who chose to die because of the impossible pressure of shame. It is a story of quiet tragedy and stubborn kindness. It is not a tale of villains and neat justice. Rather, it is an elegy. People making the best choices they know at the moment. Some of those choices wrong, some tender. It is a story of small details, tickets, boots, a chipped iron fender that hold enormous power over lives. It is also a story of forgiveness in the broad sense. The patient, steady manner of Mr. Bruce, who shields the innocent, tends the grieving, and keeps the memory of those lost from being only a headline. If you would like, imagine now the last scene. A cemetery in late winter, a low sun making long, thin shadows over the path, a small group of close friends by a gravestone, the soft thud of earth as it covers old sorrow, the hush afterward as people rise, called to home by the small chores of life. In their pockets, they carry a single tidy treasure, a note, or a memory meant to be kept carefully. The world resumes its gentle turn, and these lives go on, a little altered, softer, kinder perhaps than before. Two people loved and suffered in the name of ordinary human failings and courage. The rest of us may take the lesson in returning home with more tenderness in our chest. Now let your breathing slow like the tide at Putney. Let the warmth you feel in bed be the lamplit boudoir where Lady Dyke once smoothed a glove and stepped out into the fog. Let sorrow and kindness be two steady companions. Tomorrow, you may think of other mysteries, less grave perhaps, but still needing patience to solve. Good night. Rest now, drifting gently. Know that this story is told with calm and care, and like the detective who waits patiently, and the barrister who keeps the world's balance, sleep will tend to your questions for a while and bring you to morning ready for small, sure steps again.